Thank you for joining me on another episode of She Leads Now podcast, where we help career and entrepreneurial women gain the tools to develop a success mindset, create winning strategies, build collaborative relationships, and take bold action towards creating impact and fulfillment in their lives and careers. I'm your host, Sabine Gideon, and I'm on a mission to awaken and activate women and emerging leaders so they can tap into their innate leadership ability, elevate their influence, and create the impact they were destined to make. If you're ready to up-level your confidence, courage, and influence, you've come to the right place. Join me weekly for insights, strategies, and resources to help you grow, develop, and embody the leader you are meant to be, so that you can make the impact you know you are called to make and establish the legacy you've always dreamed. The world eagerly awaits the emergence of your brilliance, impact, and influence. So with that, let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome to another episode of She Leads Now. I'm your host, Sabine Gideon. This week I have with me Barb Smith. And so Barb is a former Division I college athlete, D1 college basketball coach, motivational speaker, author, entrepreneur, and advocate for all levels of leadership. Having both played and coached at the college level, Barb knows that sports go beyond winning and losing. Having experienced the highs and the lows and twists and turns, both in sports and in life, Barb has learned the meaning of resilience. Her story is one of extreme highs and extreme lows, which she leverages to educate and inspire others as it relates to team building. With that, welcome to the show, Barb.
Thank you so much, Sabine. It's an honor to be on your show. And let me just say, you and I spoke a little less than a year ago, and you were just getting your feet wet with this, and you have catapulted this thing. I mean, you're already at 50 episodes. That takes work. And I could tell the first time we met that you were a go-getter, and look what you're doing. You're making a huge difference. So I applaud that. And I'm just honored to be part of this. This is awesome.
Well, thank you, Barb. I appreciate that. I appreciate that feedback. And no, audience, I did not pay her to say that. I do appreciate that. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to create a platform to highlight amazing women who are leading and who are literally changing the world in their own unique way. And so thank you for being on the show. And so I read a little bit about your bio. You've gone from player to coach to motivational speaker, author. So tell us a little bit, let's take us back. What was that career journey like for you? And what were some of the decisions that you made to lead you from playing to decided that you wanted to be a coach and now all this amazing work that you're doing today?
Yeah, I think when I was in high school, I loved sports. I loved all sports, but this basketball, this round little orange thing was like, it was always in my vision. It was like, it was connected to my hip. It was just always there. So I decided that I was going to try to play in college. I really wanted that to happen. And I actually was a walk-on in college. And so I wanted it so bad. I worked so hard. And I had a tremendous leader, first in my late mother, who was just, go get whatever you want. She was so encouraging. She just supported everything. And then my first college basketball coach was Tara Vanderveer. And Tara is the winningest coach right now in women's college basketball. And I sat down in her office as just a high school kid who wanted to play at her college. And I went to camp and I met with her. And she said, look, there are no guarantees for you at this college. But if you want to come and play, here's a workout book, do it and come back. We'll see you in the fall. So this is the summer now. So to me, it was like, she's opened the gate. I'm coming in. And I did that book to the letter, to the sprint, to the weight, to the everything. I did every single page of that thing because she filled me up with hope. And so I went for it. And there still was no guarantee that I was going to make that team, but I didn't even consider it. I was just going. And so that And then I made that team. And that to me was like, I can do whatever I set my mind out to do. And so I loved it so much that it was like, I want to be a college coach now. So 4 years of college, graduate, I want to be a college basketball coach. And then I met another tremendous leader in Rose Battaglia, who was my first boss. And she has since passed, but has left a legacy of winning and great leadership for coaching and leading women. And so that started the whole thing. And I got my MBA with her as my leader, my MBA. I had a grad assistant there, so I was doing basketball and I was getting my MBA. And then I went out, and the rest of it was coaching. And so for 30 years, I've gotten to see great leadership. I've gotten to see leadership that could be different, but I've gotten to see a lot of teamwork and things that make teams go. And so it led me to this place now where I have two companies. One is Courtside Leadership, where we talk about teams on the business side, professional sports teams, more of the adult leadership. And then I have another company called Find My Team, and we help high school female student athletes with the college recruiting process. And in doing so, we help them find fit in a team, because when there's fit in a team, everything's better. And having coached for 30 years, I have seen the difference between thriving in college versus just surviving it. And a lot of that is because the work that it takes to find the right fit is shelved until the very end of the recruiting process. And what we do as a company is bring it to the forefront. And we start working with youngsters from 8th grade through high school to help them understand who they are, what they have to give the world, and what they're looking for maybe in a college experience. And it's so rewarding to be able to have an impact at that young age, because those are our future leaders.
Absolutely. I love the fact that I love the work that you're doing in supporting these students. I think about sports, and we talked about this earlier, right? I am not by any means a sports person, but there's so much that goes into playing sports besides the sport itself, right? And you mentioned it, right? There's the teamwork, there's the leadership, there's the collaboration, there's the camaraderie, like there's all of it in coming together. And so the fact that these young women and these students, that they are learning these, what I consider now basic skills that many of us, even in our organizational or corporate roles, don't learn until much later. They're learning these skills and it's coming naturally to them. They're getting to know their strengths, know where their unique brilliance is. They're all leaders, right, in some capacity, no matter what their role is. And so it's almost like this confidence that gets built at such a younger age, so that when they do enter the workforce in whatever capacity, they've already gone through most of the stuff that, like, most of us when we're like mid-career are still trying to figure out, like, how do we communicate with people, or how do we get people to do the things that we need them to do? So I love that focus. I'm curious, because you also mentioned that you work with two amazing leaders who are females. That's also extremely inspiring to hear, when women in leadership are making such a huge impact. What does the landscape look like for women coaches and women leaders within the sports arena?
I think Title IX has been, this is the anniversary of Title IX, and it was a big year, really celebrated across the country. But Title IX has done a lot in helping women, helping keep the doors open for women, because the doors were closing. And right now there are more male coaches than female coaches in women's sports, which is okay if it were the same on the other side, where there were women coaches on the male side. But it's really, the doors have been closing, the ceilings have been lowering, and there are certain people, a lot of them, a lot of pioneers, a lot of people who have spoken out about this to keep. Why are we not letting women coach women? Why are we choosing males? And a lot of it is the stereotypical, well, the male must know more than the female just because he's male. And we have some just great female coaches in the country. And I think one thing that Tara Vanderveer, who I mentioned, has done is as she's going through her tremendous success in women's basketball, she has also made it a mission of hers to lift up other women on the way. And that is one characteristic that is absolutely a must if we're going to see more women in leadership roles, that we have to help each other. And I think that it's so critical now because of COVID and because of the how many women have had to get out of the workplace. Let's bring them back. Let's bring them back because we have lost some great people during that time. So a long way to answer your question is the doors are really open. And there have been some obstacles that women have had to jump. But if we help each other, and even the men that understand this, help get women back up there in leadership roles, it's the more diverse we can have it, the better off it's going to be. Anyway, that's a proven fact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it baffles me that there would be maybe it doesn't baffle me, especially now in this time, but certainly the fact that there's a blockage to women who most likely play, they know the game in and out, right? Wouldn't you want them to be the ones to be coaching and to be supporting because that's part of their lived experience as well? Statistically speaking, how many women coaches, women leaders are at the college level?
I think the numbers, I may not have this perfect, but I think it's 60-40, 60 male, 40 women. Okay. And it used to be 90 women, 95 women and 5 male. I mean, it's really shifted tremendously because more money has come in. And I've even had, when I was coaching and we had a position open at one of the colleges I was at, I had a male call and say, I hear you have a position open on your staff. And I've been led to believe that if I'm a male, if I can come to your school, I'll be able to move up faster because it's women's sports. So it just crushed me. And I politely said, well, then there's no spot for you on the staff, because if that's all you want, how are you going to impact the women that are here? How are you going to help the team, the women, the program right here? Or are you just looking to come in and go up and bounce out? And I think anybody that is good at what they do has a passion for it. And if you have a passion for it, then you can lead. And that stuff is contagious. And that's what we've always looked to hire when we're looking at hiring new people, is what do you have to bring that is a passion that can help us move forward?
Right, right. Well, I'm not a big sports person, so don't quote me here, but I have seen over the last couple of years that there has been some headway in terms of more women being promoted or gaining access into the male sports leagues, whether that's in basketball and football and soccer and everything. And so we see these ones or twos and we get really excited when those come through. But it sounds like from your perspective, you're looking at it like it's really not that much. And those numbers are too few and far between. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, it's on the men's side now, it's 95% male, maybe more than that. Maybe it's 97 and 3%. And again, don't quote me on those numbers, but it's severely different than it is on the women's side. And personally, I think leaders are leaders are leaders. Gender doesn't matter. Race doesn't matter. Ethnicity doesn't matter, but leaders are leaders. And I believe that all kinds of leaders can lead males and all kinds of leaders can lead females. So I think this shouldn't be, and hopefully one day it won't be an issue that we keep talking about, because whether it's sports or business, the more differing perspectives you can bring to the table, the more performing, reaching your outcomes and performance enhancement and inspiring peak performance that happens. So allow these people in instead of coveting the positions for your own, basically.
Right. I would imagine that there's not a lot of ownership, meaning women owning teams or having ownership stake in teams, which is obviously trickling down and limiting the access or accessibility for women to step into these leadership roles.
Yes, and as you said, that's also starting to change. We're seeing more females coming into these top leadership roles in sports, and there have been a lot of organizations and men that have allowed this to happen and actually applauded it and started that. And I think you have to have allies doing that because because men still run the world, and to have that, for them to open up and understand that this is a great advantage when you can bring diversity onto your leadership staff. And we're getting diversity more in the workforce and all that. That's great, but to have people, to find the people that can actually lead and lift them up, we're going to see a whole different workforce when that happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the skill building that is taking place with these young women who are playing sports, but also they're being developed, right? So even in your story, in your bio, you talked about learning resilience, which is such a key skill for everyone to learn, but certainly leaders. And in these last couple of years has definitely proven that that is a top priority that we've learned. We've quickly learned that a lot of us need to develop in that space. But talk about some of the other skills, whether it's intentional or as just part of being within a team, some of the skills that these young women are learning as it relates to leadership naturally or just by way of playing the sport.
Yeah, I think there's been a little bit of a setback in what they're learning through sport and just in general. But I think COVID really did a number on these kids, and I'm seeing, and this is happening in college too. There's way more mental health issues and depression and suicide happening in college and in the high school level, and I think that a lot of that is COVID driven, but also there's way more pressure on these kids in sports than there used to be. And so I think that burnout for the female student athlete is happening. Well, they're quitting at twice the rate that boys are and at early ages. So I feel like we're starting them so young and specializing them so early. Specializing meaning they only play one sport at age birth almost, that they're not able to develop the things that sports usually does develop. And so one of the things that we try to work on is having kids play multiple sports and try new sports and play around with sports, because the fun of it is what allows you to continue playing. But to pigeonhole them in at so young of an age, they may never find the sport they're really good at, and then they're going to quit. And the pressure to win at the earliest age possible, and what the kids are losing out on just having fun, moving and playing. So we do a lot of work with confidence, building confidence, having young women learn to use their voice. They've kind of been trapped with their phones, isolated for 2 years, not speaking and not very good at communicating. And so we've worked with them on those skills. And one of the neatest things that have happened as sort of a byproduct of this whole thing with By My Team is parents have come back to us and said, I have never seen my child so confident. I have never seen her speak up and ask for what she wants and call an adult on the phone, like a college coach, call an adult on a phone and have a conversation with an adult. that sounds like an adult, that she can ask questions that are good and real and get answers and write things down. And it's that, to me, is what we need to teach these youngsters, because they're behind a little bit. And it's not so significant that we should all panic, but it is severe enough that we should really take a deep dive into this age group and help them overcome these things. Because as you said, typically sports helps you with confidence. It helps you with competitiveness. It helps with leadership. It drives, because it's fun for these kids. They learn important things that they're going to need later. And I think some of that has been skewed because of COVID and because of this newfound immense pressure that we have placed on these young kids.
Yeah. As you're talking about the communication, I have a 15-year-old, soon to be 16-year-old niece. She just started track, but I for years now, right? Like in communicating with her, I literally used to worry in terms of, just because they have things, technology is so readily available to them, right? And has been their entire life. Like she's never not known a cell phone or a computer. Whereas I'm a millennial and I don't know, I think I was 18 or something like that before like I got my own computer. And so it's a different beast. And not only that, I think about their communication style, right? Like 3-letter words. We abbreviate everything, no full sentences. And so I could imagine the joy that parent felt when she was listening to her child have a full-blown conversation, because I don't blame them. I just feel like they haven't had to utilize those skills as much as perhaps previous generations have. And I think we just kind of let that slide and say, okay, well, that's just how they are. But to your point, as they're entering the workforce, as they are becoming adults, that's going to be a huge hindrance for them, because they will feel left out. They will feel out of place because they can't speak the lingo, or they don't have the acumen to be able to do that. So I'm in complete agreement with you. I don't know what that looks like, what the solution, where that starts. Obviously, we know some of that is in school, certainly at home as well, right? And what parents are doing or not doing to kind of foster that and build that up. But I'm glad that students at least have that outlet through sports or through these team activities to be able to express themselves differently. And then the other thing that you mentioned was around the pressure to perform. And so that's actually something that I didn't recognize that was an issue at the high school and college level for students. But I wonder how much of that has always been there. And because of the entire environment that we're in right now, that we're starting to see that this is no longer tolerable or no longer needed. And the reason why I ask that is because when you look at certain industries within corporate that adults are dealing with, right? So you look at the accounting industry, you look at finance, you look at some of these consulting industries, and even nursing, right? Like there's always this expectation of you got to pay your dues, right? Like it's these long hours, it's these stretch things. And that was fine up until 2020. And even those industries are starting to see we can't burn them and turn them like we used to. It's just not okay, because one, people aren't at that 100% capacity. And quite frankly, people are like, why? Why would I want to work this hard for this minimal amount of return and output? So I'm wondering, is there an opportunity within sports and teams to look at the expectations and look at the way that they're driving people to make those shifts so that you can create a little bit more sustainability on both sides?
Yeah, that's such a great point, because I think in the olden days, okay, so 100 years ago when I played, you had breaks built in. You had breaks away from sport built in. And today, our youth sports programs are almost year round. I mean, they are on these kids year round. And so it's hard to play other sports. It's hard to even play your high school sports in some cases. So kids are opting to play the club season and skip high school. And that is amazing. That's an amazing change. But there's so much more, as you're just talking about. These kids aren't getting a break, and they're just playing one sport. A lot of them get injured way before they're even in college. And I can attest to this. I mean, we had more hip issues and knee injuries than I have ever had in my entire career, just in the last 7 years. Just so many hip, even. I mean, where kids have had surgeries. I mean, at age 30, are they going to be able to walk? And just the pressure to win at such a young age and to develop, because everybody's chasing the Division I scholarship. Everyone wants that trophy. And so we kind of oversee, or we kind of get in the way of, hey, this is a real person that we're developing, not just somebody who's going to be an athlete and get a scholarship or be an All-American or be pro or be the next Olympian or whatever. We've got a human being here that needs to be developed beyond the sport. It has to be developed. And, talking about resilience earlier, I think one major mistake that parents are making, especially with females, it's not just the parents, but people think they should protect the girls. They should tell the girls what to do. The girls need more support than the boys. The boys, they let the boys fall more, but girls, we got to pick them up. They're too dainty to fall. And parents step in front and battle everything. They battle if it's a bad grade. They battle, you're not playing my child right. Pick her up. I'm going to put her on this other team. And they do all the fighting and where the resilience would be developed. There's no chance. And so the parents take all that on. And then when the child gets older, she can't do it. She's not resilient because she didn't have any practice. So I believe parents and coaches and leaders should sometimes let the girls fall and let them learn how to get back up on their own, like you do the guys, like the boys, because we're missing that huge piece of a development in a female that she is going to need to make it to the CEO level, the CEO suite, or the head coach, or all those things. We have, and it's not just youth sports, but that's one avenue where we are just totally controlling the girls instead of letting them. I always tell my clients, we're going to put the female in the front seat, even if she's an 8th grader, and she is going to drive, because I promise you she will.
Well, Barb, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been eye-opening for me on so many different levels. I would like to move into the Blitz session here so that we can get your feedback. As you think about everything that you have accomplished within your career, both as a player and a coach, and now still a coach, but also certainly a consultant and speaker and whatnot, as you think about where you've come, if you could go back to a younger version of yourself and give her a piece of advice that you think would have been a game changer or would really support in her development, what might that be?
I would say embrace the whole journey, including the hits. And actually, I would say to myself, just embrace those hits, embrace those times when you were knocked down, and just get back up and almost smile, knowing that there's something in here that is going to bring you to a next adventure or job or next thing that is going to just be amazing.
Love that. Love that. And as you think about, obviously you are working with the youth now, and you have been, so you're already building a legacy and building an impact. It's almost like you're paying it forward from what Tara did for you. As you think of years from now and they're talking about you and the impact that you've made, what do you want that narrative to be? Like, what is the legacy that you're working towards today?
I want to empower millions of people. I want to empower young females to stand up and to have a voice and to be confident, and knowing that they can make a difference in the world, and that they're not second tier, second class, but that they have everything they need to make a difference. And then I also want to just let the guys understand, the men in this world understand that there is plenty of room for everybody and that they don't have to protect the top. There's a lot of tops and there's a lot of room, and everybody on this earth, it has something of value. And I want to help bring that out in people.
I love that. And as we think about books that may have been pivotal for you in your own development, whether that's personal or professional, is there one book or a couple of books that stand out for you?
Yeah. Well, I think this book right here, The E-Myth. And this was recommended to me from Larissa McCook, who is an Abundance Academy instructor, who shared this book with me. And it has been one of the most helpful books for small business people, because it just lays out what you need to do. It's like a blueprint. And for somebody that I was coaching, and that is leadership, but to run a business is much different. And this book has really been instrumental in helping me streamline and get stuff done that I need to get done.
Yeah.
And it's by Michael Gerber, The
Yep.
E-Myth.
And that's the E-Myth Revisited, right? Because I know there's like a few
Right.
versions of it. Okay, cool. We'll definitely include that in the show notes as well. It's been sitting in my Audible, and I think I have the print version as well. So this is like the second or third reminder. So,
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah,
And it's a fast read. It's a skinny book, but you can read it like multiple times because you always get something new out of it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Most people who have it, it's an annual revisit. Awesome. And so, Barb, as people are listening and they're thinking to themselves, wow, I really want to get in touch with her. I want to meet her. I want to connect with her. I even want her to come to my organization. Where can individuals connect with you? Where do you hang
out? Well, actually, they can go to either website, courtsideleadership.com, and schedule an appointment, or findmyteam.com and schedule appointments through the scheduler, or they can just email me at barb@findmyteam.com, and I'll get the email.
Awesome. And as far as social, where do you hang out the most?
We're everywhere on social. So LinkedIn is a good spot. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Well, those are probably the main ones that we have there.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, reach out. We're waiting.
Awesome. We will definitely link the links to your websites as well as your social profiles in the show notes. And for those of you who do reach out to Barb, please do tell her that you heard her on the She Leads Now podcast. Barb, this has been eye-opening on so many different levels, and also inspiring on so many different levels to see young women getting the support that they need to develop in the areas that will ultimately help them be successful in whatever career path they choose. Is definitely inspiring, and also eye-opening to the fact that there are some areas that perhaps we as a society have overlooked in how we can really prepare these student athletes to be the best versions of themselves when they do leave school. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes, thank you so much, Sabine, for allowing me to be part of this. I love what you're doing, and you're making a difference. You're making an impact, and so you're already doing and leaving the legacy. And I just appreciate the fact that you are doing the work you're doing to highlight women and leaders, and how much more we could be doing in the world. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. With that, audience, we will be back next week with another fabulous female leader. Until then, have a wonderful rest of the week, and we will talk soon. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of She Leads Now. If you found today's episode helpful or got a piece of insight that you plan to implement in your business or organization, I would love to hear from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Sabine Gideon, that's my handle, and send me a private message, or feel free to go ahead and leave a review on either Apple or Spotify. I also invite you to share this episode with anyone in your network who you think might benefit from this content. Lastly, be sure to check the show notes and the description below for links to resources, including relevant downloads, articles, and any upcoming training. Until we chat again, have a blessed and powerful week.